So, good day, everybody. The Minister of Foreign Affairs of Estonia is honored to host a press conference of Minister of Foreign Affairs of Estonia, Mr. Urmas Reinsalu, and leader of Belarusian opposition, Sviatlana Tsikhanouskaya. The press conference is held in English. We will begin with brief statements, and then journalists have opportunity to ask questions. So, Mr. Reinsalu, please.
It's a privilege on behalf of Estonian Republic to welcome Madam Sviatlana Tsikhanouskaya, a leader of Democrat Belarus here in Estonia again. And in Estonia, we are in full solidarity with the freedom-seeking, brave Belarus people who would like to choose the way of freedom, democracy, and belonging to the European family of free people. And let me also particularly pay a tribute to all brave people who are now being politically arrested by officials, by official figures, which tend to be much bigger in reality. There are more than 1,300 political prisoners now in Belarus, and on behalf of Estonian Republic, I've sent also a written note of respect to Ales Bialitsky, a member of transitional government, who got also is among laureates of this year Nobel Peace Prize. And the war is in a escalative direction in all contexts, and the message to Western community here from Estonia is a clear and strong, and I have stated also a written proposal on widening the scope of sanctions against Lukashenko regime, that we need to continue in pressure with the restrictive measures against Lukashenko regime immediately. And speaking about the legal position of Belarus people and Russian Federation people, we should look the ways of making a difference. And secondly, it is a call to all Belarus people that in a current context of escalation, there might happen a large-scale provocations, which aiming is to organize a provocation to turn Belarus into the war of Russian aggression war against Ukraine. And the message is very clear: don't follow these provocations. The only actors who want to turn also Belarus people to war against Ukraine are Putin and his ally Lukashenko. And we discussed today also the ways how Estonia could be also a actor helping to coordinate also international community to have discussions on Belarus' future. And what is very important, Estonia was privileged to give opportunity to Madam Tsikhanouskaya to participate in as a member of our delegation in a United Nations General Assembly session, and after that, in that context, a rather understatement, but as an unfriendly step, Lukashenko regime decided to limit Estonian diplomatic presence in Belarus, limiting it to one diplomat, and we answered with a symmetrical response. Estonia has also limited its diplomatic presence of Belarus in our soil to one person, one diplomat. And I've decided also to send a special representative to the democratic movement headquarters, being a part of our diplomatic mission in Lithuania, and I hope it will also enhance our ties with democratic movement Belarus. Thank you.
And Madam Tsikhanouskaya, please.
Good morning, everyone. Dear friends, first of all, let me thank to Minister Reinsalu, Estonian government and Estonian Parliament for hosting me today and tomorrow here in Tallinn. It's a clear sign of support for our pro-democracy and pro-independence movement. Since 2020, Estonia firmly stands against the dictatorial regime of Lukashenko and became our voice, ally, I would say, and advocate in international organizations. Today at our meeting, we discussed how to stop criminal regimes of Putin and Lukashenko and how to help Belarusians who fight for freedom and flee repressions. I asked for two-sided approach. Isolation of the regime by imposing sanctions combined with more flexible assistance to civil society. It's very important to understand that why Belarus is not Russia. And there is no tolerance of the war in our society despite of massive propaganda. Belarusian army wasn't involved in war because of massive resistance, including acts of sabotage, diversions, protests and disobedience that took place all over the country. I have to say that Russia will continue to drag Belarusians in the war, but Belarusians don't support this war. They continue to fight the criminal regime of Lukashenko even under total repressions. And our task is to help Belarusians, help us. And we already today have no one but two dictators to defeat. But I'm sure we will make it if we stay united and persistent in our actions. During this visit to Tallinn, I'm going to meet with President Alar Karis, Mr. Marka Mihkelson, and Foreign Affairs Committee, Parliament Speaker Yuli Ratas. Also, I'm going to have a meeting with our friends from Belarusian Political Prisoners and Democracy Support Group of the Riki Kogu. Also today, on behalf of Belarusians, I will address Estonian Parliament. I know that an invitation to speak in front of parliamentarians is a rare opportunity, and I'm really honored to receive it and use it. Today, I also going to visit Tallinn University and Tallinn University of Technology. I will discuss with the Honorable Rector Toni Viik and Rector Tiit Land the issues of Belarusian students in Estonia. We understand that our task is not only to defeat tyrants. Now our task is also to prepare ourselves for the day tyrants are defeated. So here we can really use the help of our Estonian friends in training qualified personnel for new democratic Belarus. And those who study, work, or build companies here in Estonia, they will become our future leaders and will make our nations closer to each other. We need those who will bring Belarus back to Europe where it belongs. Also today I want to thank journalists and encourage you to cover Belarus more often. Lately, you could see Belarus appear in the headlines only with horrifying news about the regime. And I want to outline, the more we are quiet about the regime's crimes, the more new ones they can commit. And that is why there should be more Belarus on agenda. Because the silence kills, and the silence unites the hands of dictators. So, dear friends, I have to underline that Belarusians will not stop fighting until we have our country back to the people. So, let's show that we are not alone in this fight. So thank you once again for this important visit for all Belarusians, and we are open for the questions.
Yes, thank you. And now indeed we do have some time for questions from journalists. So please, yes, Tarmo.
Yes, Tarmo Maiberg from Public Broadcasting. Question to you, Tsikhanouskaya. Is opposition's goal to force Lukashenko from power by democratic or non-democratic way? And also question to both of you, will Lukashenko's fall from power end war in Ukraine?
Will Lukashenko?
Fall from power and end the war in Ukraine, if Lukashenko will fall.
Если Лукашенко вступит?
Okay, so once more, is opposition's goal to force Lukashenko from power by democratic or non-democratic way? And the other question, will Lukashenko's fall from power, I mean, when whatever way he's going to finish and he's not anymore the leader of the country, will that also end the war in Ukraine?
So first of all, we are trying to build democratic Belarus. So I'm still sure that changes in Belarus has to happen by democratic means, by democratic tools. But the situation is, of course, different now. We are in the state of the war, and Lukashenko is really scared by our military volunteers who are defending Ukraine at the moment, and more and more people appear who, who would like to have these changes, through non-democratic way. But I'm explaining it to people that peaceful changes, democratic changes, are more sustainable. And we have to use all the possible means and tools and methods, to fight with the Lukashenko's regime and with this war by diplomatic means. Who knows how the history will turn, but I still hope that we will manage, with the help, with the assistance of our political allies, to stop Lukashenko through political pressure, through economic pressure, and through support of of Belarusian people. As for we understand that a lot in Belarus depends on the outcome of the war in Ukraine. We're absolutely sure that Ukrainians will win. We can't predict how much time it will take, but for sure Lukashenko now is supported by Putin, and when Ukrainians wins, it will mean Putin is weaker, hence Lukashenko is weaker. And we are preparing our society, we are preparing different organizations and initiatives to, to be prepared to use this window of opportunity in Belarus. So I'm not sure what will be the first victory of Ukraine or our victory over Lukashenko, but we are not just sitting and waiting when Ukrainians will win this war. We are also working on the pressure on the regime inside of the country, outside of the country, to make him and his cronies weaker and weaker every day.
What means democratic resistance to dictator? the civic resistance against dictator is a fight for democracy. And by all these tools what democratic movement has in their hands in Belarus. So, what they are doing is indeed a shame, and I think it is not in the sake of democracy, but in the sake of humanity. In New York, Estonia democratic movement, also European Union representation, we arranged a meeting about how the children, small children, are used as basically as a victims of taking into hostage. So basically, regime gives an option whether we will take your children away, or you have to admit that you give up for your principles. And so this is a very clear option, what this is systematically Lukashenko regime is doing. And so speaking about the broader context, I think the situation is now escalating by Russia and its, in a way, accomplice, Lukashenko regime. And I would put into the same context as Madam Tsikhanouskaya. If Ukraine wins and Putin regime loses its power, surely it means imminent loss of power from power of Lukashenko regime. There is no difference in that context could be imagined by larger scale. But by saying that, we have to admit that also Lukashenko regime is much more weaker in a context. It's very fragile now, and that is also the reason why this pressure from Kremlin side to take part by ground forces also in this aggression war against Ukraine is regime is looking with certain hesitance in that matter, because not of humanistic or any kind of United Nations Charter perspective, but only because of fear of their own power.
Do we have more questions? We can take one quick one. Yes, Mikael, please. Our lovely assistant will hand you a microphone. Yes.
Yes, thank you, Mikael Raun from Eesti Päevaleht. First of all, Madam President, I would like to say that I feel almost as sorry for the Belarusians being held hostage by the Russian military as I do for the Ukrainians fighting for their freedoms, as I'm sure that all of us do. But my question is, 2 years ago there was a window of opportunity to overthrow Lukashenko's government. What can the international community do to so that the opposition in your country and the people would regain that fighting chance?
You know, in 2020, we ourselves created this window of opportunities for us. And actually, for 2 years, we managed to reopen Belarus for the world. Because before 2020, hardly anybody knew where Belarus was situated, and Belarus always was in the context of Russia. We are satellite or appendix of Russia. And now, in 2020, world saw that Belarus is a separate country, independent country with our own language, with our own culture, and we don't want to be associated with Russia anymore. And we managed to build a coalition of democratic friends around us. We see how many countries are supporting our movements. Lukashenko is not recognized as leader of Belarus. He's politically isolated. There is a huge economic pressure on Lukashenko's regime. So during these 2 years, we are creating multiple points of pressure on the regime, and we are asking to support Belarusian civil society. As I said in my speech, there should be a two-sided approach to Belarus. Like pressure on the regime and support to Belarusian people who are fighting against this regime. And actually, what we are asking for now is to be consistent in your policy, because now it's very easy, to be trapped again into Lukashenko's trap. He now, what signals he's sending now? Look, help me to save Belarus. I'm between, I can't resist, Putin. Look, he putting pressure on me. But our task now is not to save Lukashenko. Our task is to save our country, is to save our independence, because Lukashenko paying debts to Putin. He's selling our country piece by piece to Kremlin. He's providing Russian troops our land as launching pad. He's assistant to this outrageous war by all means. And of course, it's very important that Lukashenko will not avoid responsibility for his actions. And it's very important, to show these signals now. You have to be punished. You have to be brought to justice for your crimes. Lukashenko committed crimes against humanity in Belarus. He tortured people. He hijacked Ryanair flight. He created migration crisis on the border. He became collaborant in this war. Of course, he can't be forgiven, for these crimes, and we have to see, clear signals from our partners that nobody is going, to communicate with Lukashenko, and not to be fooled by Lukashenko again. On the other side, Belarusian people who are fighting in extremely difficult situation. I understand that recently, for the last couple of months, you have heard about Belarus only as an accomplice in this war, that you are asking, will Lukashenko make this order to invade or not? But you sometimes forget about our internal fight, that the quantity of political prisoners is increasing every day. Every day, 10, 15 people are being detained in Belarus. People are tortured. People are humiliated physically and morally in prisons. People are really scared. You have to be, every day, people in Belarus are prepared for possible detention. But despite of this, they continue the fight on the ground. For example, for you, it seems such an easy sign that in Belarus, for example, Ukrainian flag appears, but it's a gesture of bravery in Belarus. You can be detained for putting out Belarusian flag or Ukrainian flag. You can be sent to prison for 15 years. But people do this because it's very important to show that Belarusians didn't give up. So that's why I'm asking for consistent policy towards Lukashenko and consistent support and solidarity for Belarusian people. We are not asking to do everything instead of us. We are asking to support us, to give this energy to people. For example, when we see that some countries, you are speaking about visa ban for Belarusian people, we are trying to explain, no, it will not work. People have to feel that they are welcomed in European countries, that they have opportunity to escape repressions in Belarus. So, install some visa restrictions for those who committed crimes, for propagandists, for military people, for Lukashenko's cronies, but not for ordinary people, because people also they need to energize the battery every day, to keep on fighting. It's very difficult when you are, if you have to flee Belarus because of repressions, you find yourself in different country without any assistance, and only thanks to powerful decisions of our friends, Belarusians feel rather good in European countries, but also we can face some discrimination in some cases, and now the task of us as politicians, to solve all the problems, to make lives of Belarusian people easier, for they have opportunity and have desire, to continue this fight.
Thank you very much. thanks for everybody for coming here today. Unfortunately, time flies and we have to wrap up. So I hope to see everybody here soon again.
And finally, I'm privileged on behalf of Estonian Republic to give a small present to Madame Tsikhanouskaya, and this is actually a letter of recognition signed by the head of Democratic Belarus Republic of recognition of Estonian Republic, which was signed on 7th of April 1920. So, and this historical document is also in our national archives. Madame Tsikhanouskaya is going to see it, original, but I would be privileged to present that copy.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I'm really honored to have this wonderful document. And on my side, I also have present for my dear minister. It's Belarusian Bell of Freedom. Not many people have this bell, but I'm sure you know that the minister is a huge friend of us, huge friend of New Democratic Belarus, and I'm really honored, you know, to give this present to you. Thank you.
Thank you.